If you go to a doctor complaining of a headache and they immediately prescribe surgery without checking your symptoms, you'd run out of the room. Yet when we face problems in our own lives, we often rush straight to prescribing a fix without ever diagnosing the actual cause. This diagram outlines the 4 steps of effective problem solving, and it shows that before you can develop an action plan, you must first understand the situation and identify the root cause. Most people fall into 4 distinct traps when navigating a challenge. Defeatists give up immediately. Critics complain from the sidelines without helping. Daydreamers get lost in ideas without taking concrete action. Dynamos charge headfirst into unproductive action without pausing to think. The goal is to become a problem-solving kid, a person who deliberately balances analysis and execution by pausing to plan before charging ahead. Navigating challenges effectively is not an inborn talent. It is a specific, learnable habit of pacing out your thoughts before you act. Take the case of a student named Mimi, who opened a pop-up hot dog stand at her school, but was seeing low daily sales. The immediate reaction for most people in her position would be to simply work harder or stay open longer, without a clear plan. Instead, we apply the first 2 steps of our framework, understanding the current situation and identifying the root cause. To do that, we use a tool called a logic tree to visually map the bottleneck. This diagram is a logic tree breaking down Mimi's objective to increase customers. You can see her main problem branches into 3 distinct possibilities. Potential customers are either not aware of the stand, not interested in the food, or they tried it once and are not returning. For a logic tree to work, it must follow an absolute rule. The branches must have no overlaps and no omissions. Notice how the groups for not aware and not interested are completely distinct sets of people. By visually mapping the problem with strict, separate boundaries, you ensure that any action you take later targets the actual broken mechanism, rather than just blindly treating surface-level symptoms. Now, think about how you would gather data to test these categories. Pause the video right now and ask yourself, what is the absolute fastest way for Mimi to figure out if people simply don't know her stand exists? This table outlines her data collection plan. Rather than conducting time-consuming individual interviews to find out who knew about the stand, she asked teachers to do a quick show-of-hands survey in their classes. Once the data proves the root cause, you move to step 3, developing an action plan. Generating ideas is easy, but you have to avoid getting stuck in analysis paralysis trying to decide which idea to pursue first. This graphic shows a prioritization matrix. It plots your brainstormed solutions on a grid by storing 2 specific factors: their potential impact and how easy they are to actually implement. When it comes to execution, you strictly focus your time on tasks in the top right quadrant, high impact and easy to do. Anything sitting in the bottom left box is completely ignored. Raw execution is essentially useless unless ruthless prioritization protects you from wasting your energy on low-impact tasks. This framework scales well beyond pop-up retail. Consider Alex, an experienced marketing manager trying to transition into data science, who needed to pay for a $4,800 training bootcamp on a tight budget. This logic tree displays Alex's options for covering the cost. He separated his massive financial gap into 2 distinct branches: ways to increase his income and ways to reduce his current spending. By systematically testing these branches, he found a specific mix of taking on freelance consulting, selling old collectibles, and making targeted budget cuts to close his gap without taking on debt. Mastering complex life bottlenecks relies on executing these sequential steps every single time you hit a wall. First, you understand the situation. Second, you identify the root cause using a logic tree. Third, you develop an action plan and filter it through a prioritization matrix. Finally, you execute until the problem is solved. Effective problem solving isn't magic, it is a reproducible structure. Take a screenshot of this framework right now and use it to break down the biggest problem you're facing today.